Welcome to our 10th episode of Child Sexual Abuse Prevention by Zina podcast. I'm your host, Zina Poncel. Hey, everybody. Today's podcast is focusing on male victims of child sexual abuse. Why am I focusing on male victims? Most of the time when someone hears about sexual abuse, regardless of the age, people automatically assume the victim is a female. Now, based on statistical data, it is. However, are the stats correct? Sure, on those that have been reported. Does everyone report their abuse or their child's abuse? No. Based on reported abuse, most of the time, females are the victims of sexual abuse. But believe me, there are numerous male victims out there too. We absolutely cannot forget about our male child sexual abuse victims. If any of my listeners are adult males who were victims of child sexual abuse, this podcast is for you. Please know that you did nothing wrong. You were the victim of a crime. And your offender, I'm pretty confident in saying you were not their only victim. I am so sorry this happened to you. You did not deserve to be mistreated, and it was definitely not your fault. If you're a listener and your son is a victim of child sexual abuse, this podcast is for you. As long as he has a good support system who makes sure he gets what he needs to heal, he should be okay. He, too, was the victim of a crime and did not deserve to be mistreated. And it is not your son's fault. Okay, let's get started. So, what are the statistics of adult men who were victims of child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse is a deeply distressing issue that affects both boys and girls. While there isn't always complete statistical clarity due to underreporting, which I mentioned earlier, studies suggest that boys are also victimized, with estimates of 1 in 5 boys experiencing sexual abuse before the age of 18. However, it's essential to recognize that the numbers may not fully capture the scope of the problem due to factors like stigma, shame, and fear of disclosure. And the word disclosure means to tell someone about their abuse. In this case, fear of disclosure means the child was afraid to tell anyone about their abuse, which is common, especially since most of the time the child knows the offender, and often the offender may threaten the child. Why do sex offenders target young boys? Sex offenders may target young boys for various reasons, including, number 1, vulnerability. They may perceive boys as more vulnerable or easier to manipulate due to factors such as age, being naive, or lack of awareness about sexual abuse. Number 2, power and control. Like all forms of sexual abuse, it's often about exerting power and control over the victim. Offenders may see boys as easier targets to dominate and control. Number 3, opportunity. Offenders may have access to young boys through positions of authority, trust, or proximity, such as family members, caregivers, teachers, or coaches. Number 4, sexual orientation. In cases where the offender is attracted to males, they may specifically target boys for their sexual gratification. Number 5, social stigma. Boys may be less likely to report sexual abuse due to societal expectations of masculinity, leading offenders to believe that they can get away with their actions. It's important to remember that sexual abuse is a complex issue with multiple contributing factors, and each case may have its own unique dynamics. How can someone help a male child victim of sexual abuse? Supporting a male child victim of sexual abuse requires sensitivity, understanding, and appropriate action. Here are some steps that you can take to help. Number 1, believe and validate. Listen to the child without judgment and believe their story. Validate their feelings and reassure them that they are not to blame. Number 2, ensure their safety. Prioritize the child's safety. If the abuse is ongoing or if they are in immediate danger, contact the authorities or child protection services. Number 3, offer support. Provide emotional support and comfort. Let the child know that they are not alone and that help is available. Number 4, seek professional help. Encourage the child and their caregivers to seek support from a qualified therapist or counselor who specializes in working with child sexual abuse victims. Number 5, report the abuse. If you suspect or know that the child has been sexually abused, report it to the appropriate authorities, such as law enforcement or child protective services. Follow mandatory reporting laws in your area. Number 6, respect confidentiality. Respect the child's privacy and confidentiality, but also prioritize their safety and well-being. Number 7, educate yourself. Educate yourself about the effects of child sexual abuse and how to support survivors. Understanding the impact of trauma can help you provide better support. Number 8, create a safe environment. Create a safe and supportive environment for the child to express themselves freely and without fear of judgment. Number 9, stay involved. Stay involved in the child's life and continue to offer support and encouragement as they navigate through their healing journey. And number 10, encourage self-care. Encourage the child to engage in self-care activities and to prioritize their physical and emotional well-being. Remember that supporting a child victim of sexual abuse is a long-term process, and it's essential to be patient, compassionate, and persistent in your support. So what about an adult male victim of child sexual abuse? How could you help them? If you're speaking with a male adult survivor of child sexual abuse, here's some things that you might say. I believe you. It's not your fault. I'm here to listen whenever you're ready to talk. You are not alone. There are people who care about you and want to support you. Your feelings are valid, and it's okay to feel however you feel. There is help available, and you deserve to heal from this. You are strong and resilient, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. It's understandable if you're struggling, but know that there is hope for healing. You have the right to set boundaries and take control of your own healing journey. You are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. I admire your courage in facing what happened to you, and I'm here to support you in any way I can. Remember to be patient, compassionate, and non-judgmental in your interactions, and let the survivor guide the conversation and pace of their healing journey. So a lot of people have asked me about this question that I'm fixing to throw out here. Will male victims of child sexual abuse grow up to be abusers? While there is evidence to suggest that some individuals who have experienced sexual abuse as children may go on to perpetrate abuse themselves, it's important to understand that this is not the case for the majority of survivors. I want to be sure you heard that. It is not the case for the majority of survivors. Okay? Many factors contribute to whether someone who has experienced abuse will later become an abuser, including the presence of protective factors such as supportive relationships, access to mental health services, and opportunities for healing and recovery. Additionally, many survivors are motivated to break the cycle of abuse and work to ensure that others do not suffer as they did. So I want to be sure you guys, my wonderful listeners out there, understand what I'm saying. There are a lot of male victims, adult male victims of child sexual abuse. They were abused as kids. This does not mean they're going to turn around and perpetrate on other kids. In fact, a lot of them try to protect other kids because they don't want them to go through what they've experienced. They don't want other children to go through what they've experienced as a child. Okay? So make sure you understood that part and you heard that part. The majority of survivors of male child sexual abuse do not begin to perpetrate on children. Often they're trying to protect others. Okay, and that's based on statistical data that's been reported. Okay, so it's crucial to provide support and resources to all survivors of child sexual abuse, regardless of their perceived risk of being abusers, and to address the root causes of abuse in our society through prevention, education, and intervention efforts. 7, take 1. Can male victims of child sexual abuse heal? Yes, absolutely. Male victims of child sexual abuse can heal with the right support, resources, and interventions. Healing is a complex and individual process that may take time, but it is possible. And here are some ways in which male victims of child sexual abuse can heal. Number 1, therapy. Therapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, trauma-focused therapy, or play therapy can help survivors process their trauma, develop coping skills, and work through difficult emotions. Support groups. Joining support groups for survivors of child sexual abuse can provide validation, understanding, and a sense of community. Sharing experiences with others who have gone through similar situations can be empowering and healing. Number 3, self-care. Engaging in self-care activities such as exercise, mindfulness, hobbies, and spending time with supportive friends and family can help survivors manage stress, regulate emotions, and foster a sense of well-being. Number 4, education. Learning about the effects of trauma and understanding how it has impacted their lives can empower survivors to take control of their own healing journey and make positive changes. Number 5, safety planning. Developing safety plans and setting boundaries can help survivors feel more secure and in control of their environment. Number 6, advocacy and activism. Getting involved in advocacy and activism efforts to raise awareness about child sexual abuse, support survivors, and advocate for policy changes can be very empowering and healing for survivors. Number 7, spiritual and cultural practices. Engaging in spiritual or cultural practices that are meaningful to the survivor can provide comfort, guidance, and a sense of connection. Number 8, building healthy relationships. Building and maintaining healthy relationships with supportive individuals who respect boundaries and provide unconditional love and acceptance can be instrumental in the healing process. Number 9, forgiveness. Forgiveness, whether directed towards oneself or others involved in the abuse, can be a powerful tool for healing, but it's important to recognize that forgiveness is a personal choice and may not be appropriate for everyone. Number 10, seeking justice. Seeking justice through legal means, if desired, can be an important part of the healing process for some survivors. Overall, healing from child sexual abuse is a journey that looks different for each survivor. But with support, resilience, and perseverance, it is possible to heal and lead fulfilling lives. Regardless of age or gender, and whether the abuse happened yesterday or 20 years ago, all victims of child sexual abuse should seek out counseling. You don't have to go forever, but it is highly recommended. If you're the parent of a child victim, you would probably have some sessions with your child as well as some alone. You will be provided with coping skills to assist your child through this trying time. Well, that'll wrap us up for today. Shoot me an email at csapreventionbyzina@gmail.com if you have any questions. And keep in mind, most of these podcasts, I am literally just skimming off the top of some of these subject matters. There is so much more in-depth information, and I'll be happy to dig a little deeper if I need to and provide you with information through email, or, let me know if you want some more information on past podcasts or whatever, and I'll mention you in a podcast if you want me to, or if you don't. It's entirely up to you. I'm here for you guys, okay? So just let me know if I can provide you with certain other topics or something more in-depth than what I'm doing right now, okay? You can also visit our private Facebook group. But remember, whether or wherever you learn about child sexual abuse, whether it's from me or someone else, please learn it from somewhere. There's some very informative podcasts out there, blogs, and probably local education on the subject offered in your community. So just check around. Please don't forget to take good care of you. Remember that you are very important and you matter. I'm looking forward to tossing some more information your way next week. Thanks a bunch for listening, and you all have a wonderful weekend.
They all give me say, I appreciate it.